Hello YouTube world, it is Liam, the Deaf Dude Metalhead, and I'm doing a brand new wave of British death metal in my series where I kind of try and explore the UK death metal scene and kind of show you guys that we have a pretty fucking good death metal scene here in the British Isles, and you know, we're absolutely killing it at the moment. And all these releases I'm going to show today are all brand new from bands of all parts of the UK and absolutely just destroying it. So we'll crack on. First one is a one-man project featuring vocals from a chap over in America. It's a, should we say, technical death metal, but more in the vein of like a sci-fi kind of groovy. It's got a bit of everything going on. The band in question is Body Asphyxiation Science. This is their debut EP called Space Adaptation Syndrome. Really difficult to say for me for some reason. But this is all done by Joss Allen. If you don't know who Joss is, he's a killer guitar player here in the UK. One of those guys that's kind of made a name for himself with his guitar playing, and you know, he's then gone into making his own music. And I must say, this production on this for a one-man project is superb. There is a drum machine, he's done the bass himself, obviously he does the guitar, and then the vocals are done by a chap over in the States by the name of Jason Baker. Cassette looks like that, and this was put out through Brutal Cave Productions out in Portugal, another label doing loads of UK releases. Considering they're in Portugal, they do a lot for the UK. But yeah, musically this is absolutely spot on. Really surprised by how good this was. It's a 3-track EP and it goes straight in, you know, no frills, you know, absolutely brutal beginning, really fast, very shreddy, but not like wankery kind of shreddy, which you may associate with Joss's, because he does a lot of obviously instrumental guitar videos, and with them you have to shred, you know, to promote new guitars on that. You can't play riffs, you kind of have to play like solos, and that's the kind of thing people want to see, is the lead work and all the fancy stuff to kind of showcase guitars. But this doesn't really have that. It has elements of it, but it shows more of his riff writing, what he's into, because I know he's a big Nile fan, and I know this is inspired by bands like Tomb Mold, Blood Incantation, and you can kind of hear those influences in this kind of EP. But it has like, he has certain like a style, and you can kind of hear in his riffing the way he plays. It's very much his style. Like, there's certain chugs he does and certain notes he hits. I can kind of hear, because I watch a lot of his, I mean I have done for a number of years, his guitar videos, because I'm a guitar nerd as well. And you can really hear his style in it. So it'd be interesting to see him in a band with another guitar player to see how they would pair up, because I think it'd be very different. But yeah, absolutely spot on release. So if you haven't checked this out, I'll obviously leave links below to everything I'm going to show, and go and support Joss and his project because it is awesome. Right, next one is an LP from a London blackened kind of death metal band with a kind of a cult theme to them. And you know, I love them to bits. A really, really dark, atmospheric band, and I won't probably pronounce it very well, but it's Lvcifyre, I'm going to call it. And this is their third full length, which has come out this year. The band formed in 2007, and they are a London-based band. Now the cover I absolutely love, but it's a bit shiny, so it's really hard to see properly, but hopefully you can see it there. Now, I picked this up for a number of reasons. One, I like my kind of occult themed kind of death metal with a very atmospheric kind of feel to it. That's the gatefold, which is really cool, really looking cool demon. This was put out through Dark Descent Records, and they always put out that kind of occult themed kind of death metal. And these guys, I mean, there's a lot of bands in London that kind of have this style, like Grave, Miasma, and there's loads. And these guys aren't really that different, should be honest, from those kind of bands. They all have a very similar vibe, and if you put them on the same kind of bill, it might be a bit dull because they are very similar. But these guys, what they reminded me of was a lot of Immolation in their sound, and I love Immolation as a band, they're fantastic. And these guys kind of have that kind of sound. They sound a little bit like Immolation in the riffing and the way they kind of do those kind of chug riffs with the really heavy breakdown sections, and then those kind of weird off the cuff kind of solos that in your head don't really make sense, but they fit really well with the music. And yeah, absolutely love this. This has got a lot of spins from me recently since I picked it up, and is absolutely stellar. So a band, if you haven't checked out before, are well worth checking out. They do have 2 previous ones to this one as well. And yeah, if you like that kind of occult themed, really dark death metal, these guys are well worth checking out. So yeah, really cool band. Right, next one is a band I only discovered a couple of months ago, and being brutally honest, it was more of a blind buy than anything else, and I kind of thought I'm going to enjoy it, and I wasn't wrong at all. The band is called Carcinoma. I can't pronounce the name of the album. This is their debut full length that's come out this year. I believe this was a self-release. Now the band are from Plymouth and they formed in 2014, so I think they put an EP or demo out the year after, then an EP, and then now finally got around to doing a full length. Now again, this is like blackened kind of death metal with like a cult kind of satanic themes to it. You might be able to gather that by the artwork. But this has got a lot of doomy elements to it as well. So it is blackened kind of death metal, so it's very angry, dark. But then they slow it down. They have gaps in the songs that really create some really dark atmosphere. I mean, like the tape is just black, so you kind of get that vibe. It was just going to be nasty and dark. And a band I'd never heard of before. I believe 2 of the members of this band play live for the band Bile, if you know that one. And yeah, this is really, really cool. I think these guys are a 3-piece, so bass, guitar do the vocals as well and kind of trade off each other. And yeah, a really, really cool album. Very, very dark, very, very heavy. So go check that one out. So that was really, really surprising how good that was. Right, as you know, I absolutely adore Eternal Rot. The band can do no wrong, and I've talked about them loads on my channel, but I have loads of new subs recently, and this is a new release from them, so I thought I have to include it in this series because I haven't done Eternal Rot in this series yet. And this is their latest split with the legendary Japanese Death Doomers Coffins. This is a self-titled split, no fancy name. For the eagle-eyed viewers out there, yes, this is Mark Riddick artwork, and it is insanely cool. Love Mark Riddick as an artist. Anything he puts his hand to is stellar. The borders, everything is so detailed. I mean, look how fucking cool all of that is. I mean, any band would kill to have him do their artwork, and I know a lot of bands do, and you could say, oh, is it, you know, you don't want to copy everyone else, but Mark Riddick is awesome, so I don't know why that'd ever be a problem for some people. But this is amazing. Gatefold's even better. Look at that. How cool is that? But yeah, this was put out through Behind the Mountain Records, and what you get here is you get, is it 2 tracks from Eternal Rot? Yeah, 2 tracks from Eternal Rot, 2 tracks from Coffins. And on this release, it's a bit different. They've got 2 full lengths out now, Eternal Rot, and as they've gone on, they've changed their style very slightly. It's still very morbid, very dank, atmospheric death doom. Vocals are so fucking low, and Pavel told, you know, he's such a lovely bloke when you meet him in real life, but his voice on a microphone is something totally different to what you see in person. He's a demon, absolute demon. It's brilliant. But on this one, they have a little bit of a kind of psychedelic edge in their music, and it's a little bit more upbeat. It's not as sludgy and as slow as I was expecting it was going to be. And like from the very first album I heard up till this one now, musically they've gone in different stages, so they've kind of sped up only slightly, and they've kind of put a bit more emphasis on riffs, not just kind of atmosphere. They're kind of putting more riffs into their music now, and obviously Coffins, you know, they always put riffs on anything they do, and they're just an amazing band. Love them to death as well. But as we're talking about Eternal Rot, they did form in 2012, and they aren't a live band. They are basically a musical project, so you'd never see them live. One of the guys lives in Watford, one lives in Bedford, and then the drummer lives in Poland. So, you know, you wouldn't get them live anyway. So a really, really cool band. Love Eternal Rot, as probably everyone knows. You know, do I say any more? Right, next one. I can't actually pronounce the name of this band, but I will obviously leave it down here. So the band is called that, and the album is called Poison I can't even pronounce that, but you can now read it down here. I'm terrible at pronouncing anything. But this is like a very arty, melodic, it's a bit weird. So it's like atmospheric death metal with kind of like an arty feel to it almost. It's very dark, atmospheric, has loads going on, and it's quite hard to kind of digest it straight away. You have to kind of really sit down with it. But it was put out through Dark Descent Records and Invictus Records, which I think is an Irish label. This, it tells you there on the back, you can see it there. But it comes on that dark cassette there. But this was, I wanted to get this on LP, but they sold out, so I had to get the tape. But this is an interesting project and a really interesting album. So the band formed in 2011, and they all used to live in the UK, I believe, reading up on it. But now I think it's the bass player now lives in New Zealand. But the band have carried on. This is their latest for 2021. I think this is their debut full length as well, considering the band formed in 2011. That is a long fucking time to put a full length out, but you know, people do things differently all the time. But this, for me, you can see the artwork there. Very, very dark. You know, so you can't just kind of put it on and get into it. You have to sit down with it. It's very that dark, atmospheric death metal, and a lot of these bands kind of have that theme today. And I love it, absolutely love it. Dark Descent Records, anything they put out has that vibe to it anyway, so you kind of know going in that you're going to get that. And you know, and this is another band I believe based in London as well as New Zealand, so like I say, there's a lot of atmospheric death metal with that kind of satanic occult theme in the capital of England. So yeah, really, really cool release, and I really enjoyed that one as well. Now, I'm going to end it with two bands that have been put out through the same label. Now, the label in question is a Cardiff-based one called Fuck Hype Endless Disappointment. And they've put out some really interesting bands over the last couple of years. I've been made aware of them. And these two here are no different. Similar names, but they are different in music. So the first one is Bile Rot. I believe this is their debut EP or demo. I'm not really sure what they're calling it. 2 tracks. But they used to be called, I'm using my notes here, they're a Nottingham-based band. They were called Death Stench, but they were having an argument with another band over in the States called Death Stench. So instead of kind of, you know, sticking with it and carrying on with that name, they've changed their name to Bile Rot. I believe there's also another band called Bile Rot. I mean, death metal bands, there's always going to be one band with the same name. Like, I'm in a band called Qrixkuor. There's at least 3. And when we were starting out, we used to have pictures of them appear on our Spotify. And they're, I think, a Siberian band. There was a picture of them in a swimming pool and just those swimming trunks. So when we put out our really miserable second album, Evangelium, picture of them in the swimming trunks kept coming up. It's really funny. Nothing to do with us at all. It's just something Spotify kind of did. We had to kind of change it, and it was really funny. So like, people would go on our Bandcamp page, and not Bandcamp, Metal Archives page, and to see a picture of us, and well, it wasn't us, some dudes in swimming trunks, and assume it was a Death Doom band. So it's really funny. Anyway, Bile Rot. So 2 tracks here, very lo-fi. I'm going to say this is a demo more than an EP. I love it, absolutely spot on, very riffy. There's some really nice lead harmonies in this that kind of separate the 2 tracks so I can remember which one's which. And I think the Sea of Corruption, the second track, is my favourite off this. Tape looks like that. And yeah, really cool band. I think they're very much new on the scene, and they might have even just formed either last year or this year. And a really, really cool project, so I'm keeping my eyes firmly on them because that was really interesting. And the last one is a band from Wales, 2-piece, which is borderline between brutal death metal and slam. Now, I'm not a massive slam fan. I never have been. I have tried to get into it, but sometimes you listen to those bands and they use the same fucking kind of dun 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 dun, dun all the time, and it gets really boring really quickly. But Crypt Rot here kind of have that vibe to them, but then they stick more with the brutal death metal. So this is a 2-piece, one guy on vocals, the other chap does guitars and bass, and it might be a drum machine, not 100% sure. But you get 3 tracks here, and yeah, spot on for me. I really enjoyed this. Wasn't expecting to be like madly in love with it when I first heard it. I thought I'm going to try and get into this because I wanted to support the label. So I picked up a load of releases, and yeah, I really enjoyed this actually. It was really cool to kind of hear. There was a slam element to it, but it was more emphasis on the brutal death metal side, so there was more of a riff going on than just kind of boring old chug kind of slam riffs. And it was, yeah, the vocals are insane, absolutely insane, really, really guttural, really, really brutal, and a really fun release. And it's got this kind of sound bites in there that you get with those kind of bands, murderers and all sorts of shit like that. But, you know, I'm into all that kind of thing, so it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Guys look like that. So another band, I think it's fairly new. I'm not sure they've been around too long, maybe this year, last year. They haven't been around long either. And yeah, one to keep your eye on, because I know Frozen Screams are doing the stateside press of this, which is really cool to see. So these guys are getting a lot of coverage already. So go check out some Crypt Rot, because you will enjoy that if you like your brutal death metal. So that is it for this series of new wave of British death metal. Hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, go check links below. let me know what you think, and also suggest any new UK death metal bands, or if you are a UK death metal band, reach out to me, which is the deathdometalhead@gmail.com. I will happily go check it out because I love checking out new bands all the time. And before I forget, this Saturday night I've been invited to Ken's Death Metal Crypt to appear on his live stream. Got loads of really cool YouTubers getting involved, and I think even Mark GVC here in the UK and Jake's Metal Chat will be joining me for the kind of the UK guys talking about our love of death metal with Ken. So until then, take care guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers.